Today we are diving into one of the most compelling and emotionally charged arcs in My Hero Academia. Not only that, but probably in anime. And that is Deku's Vigilante arc, also known as Deku's Dark arc or saga. Now here's the thing. When I first saw the clips about this, I'm rewatching My Hero Academia, and there were a lot of people that were hating on this, calling it cheesy, played out, all of that. But here's the thing. After rewatching or starting to rewatch My Hero Academia and watching this for myself, I think that they did actually an amazing job and handled the whole going evil, superhero going evil arc damn well. Honestly, I think it's one of the best examples that I've seen of this. Because here's the thing, when we mainly see these evil arcs happen, they're usually driven by just emotion, right? The main character, the superhero, he is disappointed in some way, and they're so disappointed and so emotional that they decide to go dark, that the hero path is not the right way. And this is not at all what happens with Deku. When most examples that we see of this are driven by emotion, Deku is actually driven by logic. And honestly, that's kind of part of his character, right? Like, think of an example. If you look at Sasuke from Naruto, although he's not the main character, he was a good guy that turned evil purely out of emotion and his desire for revenge, his thirst for power. Now, Deku, he's not just seeking revenge. He's not just seeking power. In fact, all of the things that he does here is to protect his friends. And before you guys think that I'm just making up stuff, think of the fact that although Deku has gone off on his own, he is not alone. Like, he is relying on All Might to still guide him and for him to still do what he needs to do. Even though he's going off on his own, there is still help from more mature heroes that are around him. Look at Endeavor, and I forget the yarn guy. So, you guys are going to kill me in the comments, but he does have a support system around him, even though he has gone dark or gone off on his own. So there's an important key to all of this that makes this entire evil arc make so much more sense. And that is that after this brutal battle that they have with Shigaraki, where there's mass destruction happening, not only that, but the collapse of Japan's hero society is also happening, and it has changed the entire world that we have known to love in this anime. Like, you have heroes quitting and society is falling into chaos to the point where now people feel like they have to take matters into their own hands. And this actually further justifies Deku going off on his own. If they would have just kept everything the same and Deku's just going off on his own, it would have been a little bit weird. But they added this extra touch of society, going dark and society just falling into chaos that adds this whole theme of him going on his own, acting on his own. It just makes it make more sense than otherwise. And I thought that the way that they handled that and that they set the stage for Deku to go off on his own, I thought that they just did a great job. And it actually adds to the story. It's not just like this one instance that we just put out there when we wanted the hero to go evil. No, we set up for this to happen. And here's the thing, with pro heroes agencies disbanding and the faith in the heroes fading fast, Deku operating individually doesn't just make sense, it's actually necessary for it to happen. In a world where the rules no longer apply, Deku redefines heroism for himself. He doesn't abandon his mission. He just evolves to adapt to what's actually going on. And that's what makes this arc even more powerful. It's a response to the collapsing world, not a rebellion against it. Is a response to what's actually going on within the story. the perfect setup for Deku to go off on his own. And this is something that we don't often see in other portrayals of this like evil arc. And not only has Deku gone off on his own to protect his friends because the evil guys are after him and he wants to protect them, he's also gone on his own to become stronger, to refine the skills that he needs to refine in order to defeat the biggest bad that we have in this anime currently. So this is actually a two-facet arc for him, to protect and to grow stronger, which it's never the case in most of these tropes. Usually heroes are, like I said before, just disappointed, they're emotional, and they just want some type of revenge. This is not what Deku wants. In fact, he wants to save Shigaraki, which is crazy, but in character for him. And this actually parallels a lot of the going to the desert stories that we see in the Bible. Like you have Moses, where he spends 40 years in the desert to get prepared for the mission that is to come, right? So God can mold him into the hero that he's going to need him to be in order to liberate his people. Jesus himself, he goes 40 days in the desert where he goes without eating, he goes without drinking, and he is tempted by Satan, a preparation season for what is to come. And this is exactly what's happening here with Deku. This is, from what I've seen so far, it's a season of preparation for what is to come next. And if you think about it, this just makes sense. There are times in our lives that we need to take time to just work on ourselves, to go through that desert period where, you know, God is dealing with us. He's strengthening us. He is chipping away at the weaknesses that we have so that we are prepared for the work that is to come, especially in terms of ministry, maybe life and the situations that are coming. These are oftentimes the seasons where God is using in order to prepare us for what comes ahead. So let me know what you think in the comments. Am I blowing smoke? Was I the only one that enjoyed this evil arc in this anime? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, just want to remind you that we must persevere. Peace.